Hey guys, Buff Game back today, bringing our video, and today we're going to be covering tactical weapon builds. So I'm going to be going through, giving you some of my favorite tactical weapon builds as far as alternatives to use to the current meta in the game, since it seems like everybody seems to be using the same pair of weapons, whether it's an FAL or a Bruin combo and the same MP5, and then we still see the Sig 552 or the Grau 556 as it's known in game used all the time, or basically the three weapons I'm seeing and a little bit of the kilo, but there's specific builds of those weapons. So what we're going to try and do here is I'm going to give you tactical weapon setups that are actually very viable in Warzone. If you're not using them, definitely give them a try, and then obviously they look good, as you can see here on screen, with milsim type operators. So let's go ahead and back out, and first off I'll show you, we'll just go through some of these loadouts quickly. Now keep in mind, it's not typically a class setup. If we're looking at class setup, first off, I'll mark out what kind of things I typically run, if I'm depending on if I'm running solos, but basically I'm typically almost always going to run EOD to survive explosives like a C4, Ghost is my secondary, and then either Amped or Shrapnel to give me a second explosive or a lethal equipment. So we'll go ahead and leave that. And then typically in Warzone, again, I'm going to be running either usually C4, and then I'll be running a Heartbeat or possibly Stun, depending on what kit I'm typically using. So that's typically my loadout that I run almost in every, whether it's singles, duos, trios, or quads. But jumping into the weapons to start, first we'll go with the Mark 17 or the SCARH. So again, these are tactical weapon setups, off-meta type weapons with different setups. So some of them could be meta weapons, but we're using different attachments that you'll see here. So we'll go ahead and jump in. So first off, this is our Mark 17 or our SCARH, as you can see here. So this is a different kind of a setup that I'm sure a lot of people have not seen. So right here, we have the monolithic suppressor. It's going to assist with the sound suppression, damage at range, the cons being the ADS speed and the aim walking steadiness. Again, that's going to keep you off the radar in Warzone, which is really key for this weapon. Now, the second attachment here, I'm going to be using the Forge Tac 20-inch barrel. So this is going to assist with the damage at range, longest barrel we have on the SCAR, bullet velocity, and recoil control. The cons being the ADS speed and the movement speed, which we're going to make up with elsewhere. So the third attachment slot, TAC laser. So TAC laser is going to assist and make up for that movement speed and the ADS speed negation we're taking. So we're going to get the ADS speed, aim and stability, and aim walking steadiness for this attachment. The con being that the laser is going to be visible, that green laser, when you're ADSing. So again, as I always say, just be careful where you're ADSing. Don't let your laser go through doorways and give away your position. And then also when. You don't want to just be camping out somewhere and ADSing and giving away your position with that laser. So just be cautious about that. And then you can see that's mounted right there on the top of the M-Lock handguard that we have here on this Midwest Industries M-Lock handguard for this specific blueprint that we're running. Again, we're running the Trader blueprint here. There's a couple different blueprints that have the same handguard for the 20-inch barrel there. So it's a Midwest Industries M-Lock handguard. Again, I'll link all the videos down below if I can of the weapons that we've covered before in different Warzone episodes, just so you can get more information on them. For the optic, this is really up to you. I've been running a lot of the 4x flip with this. Again, it's going to just assist with the toggle level. You can go from 4 to a red dot or the holographic there. And all the negatives for these are always going to be just the ADS speed. So I typically run the 4x flip or even the integral hybrid, or as it's known in game as the Leopold hammered. Again, this one's really good. It's just going to give you a little less zoom optic, but that's going to help out your recoil a little less because you're not as zoomed in if you're firing through that 3.25 optic. Those are two of my favorite optics to run with this. Going to skip out on the stock, but again, with this blueprint, we have the cheek rest adjusted stock here on this. So this differs from the base SCAR blueprint, which is nice to see. We have no perk, no rear grip. For this one, this is typically kind of my solo or duo build, so I don't run any additional ammunition with this one. 20 rounds is actually more than enough to take out 1 to 2 enemies if you're good with the weapon. And then the underbarrel attachment is going to be 1 to 2. I really like the bipod foregrip for this because it's going to assist not only with the recoil control, but the crouch and prone recoil control. So if you're crouching, especially prone, this thing is going to be a laser almost. Cons for this one is that the movement speed is going to be down as well as the ADS speed. But ADS speed we're making up with elsewhere, so we're really not taking that big of a hit, but the movement speed is definitely going to be affected here. So if that's a problem for you, I would recommend the Merc foregrip. That's actually going to help with the recoil control more so than the bipod foregrip and the hipfire accuracy, which really we're not using this weapon for that. But the cons, ADS speed and aim walking movement speed. So you won't take a negation on the movement speed overall here, and you won't take you'll actually get better recoil control with the weapon, but however, that won't be affected when you're in crouch or prone like it would with the bipod foregrip. It's only going to get better if you're in crouch or prone. So that is the Mark 17 or the SCARH. Now, a lot of the attachments are going to be the same for these weapons, so I won't repeat the pros and cons for them, but this is our Mark 17. SCARH, really tactical weapon build. Again, this thing really works well. This is definitely one of my favorite weapons in Warzone. And when I'm having trouble using weapons that I'm trying to get videos with, I'll typically go back to this and just have a good time with it. So next up, we'll go with the Kilo 141 of the H&K 433. So again, a lot of the same attachments here. We're going to use a lot of the same ones. Basically, the mono suppressor, the longest barrel we have, going to give us the same pros and cons that we had for the SCARH. Again, this is the longest one available. We're going to use that tack laser. Now, one thing to know, I'm using a Union Black blueprint. There's a couple different blueprints that have this exact look, which we've covered in the past. This one's going to allow my tack laser to be mounted on the top Picatinny rail, as you can see here, versus the right side Picatinny rail, which you'll see with the base Kilo and some other different blueprints. But this one, in general, is going to keep us on the top, which is nice. I like that look for that nice tactical weapon setup. Next up, we're going to run that Leopold Hammer, the Integral Hybrid. We're going to skip out on the stock, the perk, the rear grip, as well as the ammo, since I'm running this one typically solos. If I'm running outside of solos, I will put a 50 or a 60 rounder on there just because of the high rate of fire on this. Then the underbarrel for this one, you can really get away with a Commando foregrip. That's going to assist with the recoil stabilization and the aiming stability of the weapon, so that'll help with that horizontal recoil more so than the vertical, since this one does kick to the left. Very easy to control with this. And this only con here will be the movement speed for the weapon. But this is the Kilo 141 or the H&K 433. Now, this is currently a meta weapon, but you're not going to see really anybody running this kind of setup on the weapon. Especially, it seems like I never see anybody running, or never run into anybody with an Integral Hybrid or a Leopold Hammer on there. And this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite optic to use in Warzone. So that's the HK 433, the Kilo 141. Next up, we'll go ahead and look at the Sig MCX Vertice. So we've covered this one even recently a couple times on the channel here. So this one, we're going to go monolithic suppressor, the Tempest Marksman, again, the longest barrel attachment we have with this weapon. The tactical laser, again, nice top-mounted tack laser here. Going to have the same pros and cons as we have in the past. 4x flip, and then we're skipping out on all the other attachments but the Merc foregrip. So you can really swap this between the Merc and the Commando. I personally prefer, if I'm running any kind of zoom optic, I prefer the Merc foregrip. Just keeps me on target a little bit more, and I can take that hit to the movement speed. So this is our Sig MCX Vertice. Now, if we want to run I have another build that I really like for this, the Sig LVOAC, the Black Mamba, the low visibility assault weapon. So for that one, simply we're just going to swap out the barrel to the Tempest Cyclone, which is that integral suppressed barrel on this weapon. That's going to assist with the sound suppression and bullet velocity. The only con, ADS speed on this, but you have that built-in suppressor. So you get 2 for 1 on this attachment slot. And then if we keep that tack laser on, you're going to make up for that lack of ADS speed with this barrel. So that's a really nice build. You can also put that Leopold Hammer to the Integral Hybrid on this, which is what I typically run on this specific build with this integral suppressed barrel on there. I'll run this one versus with the Vertice or the long barrel for the Marksman, I'll run the 4x flip most likely. And that is our Sig MCX Vertice, and this one here, the Sig Black Mamba, the LVOAC low visibility assault weapon. Go ahead and back out. We'll cover our LVOAC, or our low visibility operator assault carbine, I believe is what it stands for. A little rusty on that. I haven't looked at that acronym in a bit. But again, we've covered this one quite a bit in the past. Again, the barrel attachment on this one is going to be that of an LVOAC. This one you're going to need any of the blueprints to unlock this mono suppressor, and then we're going the 14.5-inch tack light barrel. But again, some of these different blueprints have this different cosmetic change. So we're going to run with the zip tie, or I believe the Sulfur Wanderer will have it as well, and there's some more out there as well if you have them. But again, the zip tie is going to give us that all black, and we're running the fair brass blueprint on this one. But this particular barrel, not the best for the M4, but it's going to assist with the ADS speed. The cons here, bullet velocity, which we'll kind of make up for with the monolithic suppressor the best we can. Next up, we'll do a 4x flip sight. And then for the stock, we can run a Forge Tac CQS, or you can just go for the no stock option on this if you really want to. This will assist with the aim down sight speed, and the aiming stability will be the only con here. Next up, we can just skip the other attachments and run with either a Merc foregrip. Looks aesthetically pleasing on this, but however, I do prefer actually a Commando foregrip. That's going to assist with that recoil stabilization and the aiming stability. You won't take a hit to the ADS speed for that, which is nice. So that is our Sig LVOAC. Really nice looking design there. You can even go ahead and swap out some of these attachments if you wanted to, and go ahead and put a tack laser on there. You can see how that looks right there. Really nice, very aesthetically pleasing for this weapon. Go ahead and back out, and next up we'll cover the G36KA4. This again is a blueprint for the low rail on this, the low rail system. You can see here we have that low Picatinny there on top. So this is the Palisade blueprint. There's a couple different ones which I've covered in the past for this, but G36KA4, we're running the monolithic suppressor. You're going to want that XRK ultralight barrel for this. It's going to assist with the ADS speed, and the bullet velocity is going to be your only con on this one. We're going to run that 4x flip here, and then we'll skip out on all the other ones. We're going to swap to that 30-round magazine, so that's going to assist with the ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and the reload quickness. The only cons being the magazine ammo capacity, since we're going from that 100-round C-Mag to the 30-round magazine here for the G36KA4. And then we'll run that Merc foregrip on there. That's going to assist with the recoil control, hip fire accuracy, and the only cons here are the aim, walking movement speed, and the ADS speed. So you can swap some attachments out there if you wanted to. This is a really nice build. I think this looks aesthetically pleasing with this blueprint. Another really good one would just be to deselect that and go with the base G36 build here again. And you can put any other attachments you want on that as well. But that's our G36KA4. And the last one we'll cover, and we'll break this up in a couple different videos, because I have a lot of different tactical looking weapons. So this one will run the M249 SAW Paratrooper variant. So this one is the Bruin Mark 9. Again, this is a current meta weapon in the game, but since I really hate using meta weapons, we're going to run it a little bit differently. We're going to run that monolithic suppressor. We're actually going to run the shortest barrel on this. So the Bruin 18-inch barrel, turning this into the Paratrooper version of the M249. Again, that's going to assist with the ADS speed and the movement speed for the weapon. The cons being the bullet velocity and the recoil control, which we'll make up for elsewhere. We can skip out on the laser for this one since we have that short barrel. For the optic, I really prefer the integral hybrid of the Leopold hammer here. I think this looks really well with this weapon. The stock, we're just going to leave base since we don't have the attachment slot for the skeleton to really turn it into a correct paratrooper. However, cosmetically, the para stock here is completely wrong, so I actually like the base stock on this a little bit better. We'll skip out on the other attachments here. We're going to run that 60-round casket magazine on this weapon, which can be side-loaded into the slot here right below where the belt would feed into. So this is going to assist with the ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, the movement speed, and allow us to have a detachable magazine. Again, this is 60 rounds from the base 100, and that's a 60-round casket magazine for those Stenag mags. The only con, again, we're reducing the ammo size there. Next up, we'll go with the underbarrel attachment. And for this particular build, I really love to run the Merc foregrip. Again, this is just really going to help you with the recoil control, which we're making up for with that short barrel that we have on this weapon, as well as the hip fire accuracy in case we get into sticky situations. The cons here, ADS speed and the aim walking steadiness, which again, with that short barrel, we're making up for a lot of that, as well as with this 60-round casket mag. You got to make up for a lot of those negatives. This is a really good weapon for medium to, I guess, medium range engagements. You can even engage at, depending on what you consider long range engagements, but this one is really good out to, I would say, 100 meters, pretty accurate. I've been able to get kills, especially swapping to that top-mounted red dot. It's really good, fast, and snappy. This is a really good weapon to use in Warzone. But these are my first 5, at least, tactical weapon builds. Let me know down below what you guys think, what you think of these weapons. If I go ahead here and we take a look at one of my base operators, these pair really well with milsim operators. All these, we have quite a lot of milsim operators, which I've covered in a lot of videos. So there you can see we're running the HK433 with D-Day. And again, there's a lot of other options here. So let me know down below what you guys think, what your favorite tactical weapon setup here that I've covered is so far. Let me know your ideas below. We'll cover a part 2 of this in the future. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll pick it up with a part 2 sometime later on in the future. Leave your tactical weapon builds down below. And until next time, this is Buff Nerd Gaming, out.